Alright, y'all, we back with another video. So today we're going to be showing you how to do Chapter 6, Episode 10 versus Esso and Ketsuzu. We're going to be talking about the recommended types, the disadvantage type, also be talking about what they do. Let's get right into it. Alright, so as you can see, this is going to be a little bit different compared to the other stages. This one, we're going to have two bosses, right? So that means we are going to have two type advantages and two type disadvantages. As you can see, red and blue are going to be the disadvantages, and green and yellow are going to be the advantages. So let's start off with Esso first before we actually talk about Ketsuzu, right? So we have Esso. Now, let's talk about what he does, right? So he has stun reduction, disturbance reduction, darkness. He inflicts poison and corrosion. Very straightforward. Now, I recommend targeting this boss first when you are actually doing this stage, simply due to the fact that when Esso, if you kill Ketsuzu first, if Esso is still alive, when your HP drops below a certain percentage, Esso will do an attack, an AoE attack that will do so much damage. Like that's something that you don't want to reach. So basically, you want to focus Esso first because Ketsuzu doesn't have anything like that, right? So now let's go into Ketsuzu, right? Now that we already talked a little bit about Esso. So we have Ketsuzu. Ketsuzu is weak to yellow, right? And he is strong against blue. Now, every 4 turns, he will do an AoE attack and inflict rot. Just like Esso, he has stun reduction, disturbance reduction, and darkness. On top of that, he inflicts corrosion. Now, unlike Esso, he does not inflict poison, so you have one thing to worry about. You just have to worry about the corrosion from him. So what I recommend, like I said before, is to focus one of the bosses. And in this case, I would recommend focusing Esso just because you don't want to kill Ketsuzu and then you get below a certain threshold and then he does a big AoE attack and then wipes you. We don't want that, right? So we want to focus Esso, who has more gimmicks to the fight. That way you have less to worry about, right? One thing to do note is that both bosses do use taunt for 3 turns, so do keep that in mind. Once you get taunted, you're going to be locked to whoever you're fighting, so you want to have a well-rounded team. So let's get right into it and talk about the team setup. So here, as you can see, we have our team setup, right? So as usual, we have Yaga. Of course, if you don't know what Yaga does, Yaga is like literally the ultimate buffer. You're going to be using him all the time. Like he's almost in every single team that you use imaginable. He's amazing, at least until the SSR Yaga releases. This Yaga, phenomenal unit, and he's an SR character. Ease of access. So of course we're going to be using him to buff our team. His buffs last for 4 turns and you can stack them, so you just continuously keep spamming his second skill, which is going to be this one right here, to continuously keep getting these buffs and do so much damage. On top of that, he can debuff the enemy and you can increase the damage that you do to them. Then we have Nanami, right? If you don't know what Nanami does, he's also a very amazing SR unit, which means you will be able to get him just by playing the game and summoning. He's able to increase his own damage by 45%, right, for 4 turns if you have it maxed, and increase all allies' damage by 34% for 4 turns, right, if you do have it maxed, which makes it very good because you are able to continuously stack this. Do keep in mind this excludes himself. This is a buff for everyone else. The damage buff, right? His own damage buff is going to be 45% to himself, while he increases the other everybody else by 34% at max level 10. So yeah, again, he's just like Yaga. Not as powerful as Yaga because Yaga does a little bit more, but he definitely is very powerful indeed, and you can use them together. This enables nuking comp, which is why you're going to be using Yaga and Nanami very often in the beginning of the game together, along with your carries. Next up, as you can see, we have Mekamaru. Mekamaru realistically is the only other green kind of DPS character that's free to play that you can get your hands on, right? So we're going to be using Mekamaru because Mekamaru will be able to do good damage to, you know, the boss who is weak to green. I believe that is Esso. And then on top of that, there is going to be some alternatives, right? This is just the free-to-play way, but let's say you do have some characters, right? Your best character to be using over Mekamaru would be Itadori Yuji, the SSR version. And then if you don't have Itadori, then you're going to be using Panda. And then if you do not have Panda, the SSR version, then you will use Mekamaru. That will be your last and final option, right? He's just strictly there for doing damage to whoever's weak to green, which should be Esso. Next up, we have Gojo. As you can see, Gojo is prominent. He's literally almost everywhere you use this character because he's untouchable, does a ton of damage, an amazing character overall, right? You definitely want to be using Gojo. If you don't have Gojo, then probably just use Nobara, right? But everybody should have Gojo because you should be picking him up from your rerollable SSR ticket, right? And then last but not least, as you can see, I have Ieri here. Obviously, she's not going to be doing a lot of damage to Ketchizu because Ketchizu is advantaged towards blue. But we just mainly have her here as an extra option to heal the team. You don't necessarily need her. It could be anybody, right? You can have another damage dealer. You could have Nobara, Itadori, Panda, Inumaki, whoever you want to have in this fifth slot, right? You just want to have a backup just in case, right? And yeah, that's basically going to be it for all the characters. And then for your memories, we're not going to be using any memories. You can use what you have on hand to increase your damage. Do whatever you must. Like, you know, memories like this one is very nice for Yaga. For Nanami's case, we're not really using his ult. We're only using his skill. So anything that gives him sustain. So there's like a good rare option. I believe it's called shopping, if I can find it. This is the memory I'm referring to. So basically every 4 turns you will heal, you'll recover 14%. So a bit sustained. Realistically, the only thing we need from Nanami is just to use his second skill. So there's not really too much worries here. There's nothing that we realistically need in terms of targeting for, you know, memories. So we just give him some sustain. That should work just fine. Mekamaru could use anything that boosts his damage. Any kind of memory that you have that can boost his damage is good enough. Gojo, you can use this one. This one is definitely going to be very nice for him. If you don't have that, just use whatever you have on hand to increase his damage output. But like I said, you won't be needing memories for this fight whatsoever. This fight is going to be completely doable with this team without any memories, right? So let's get right into it, and I'll kind of just show you what we're going to be doing, right? Alright, so first off, Yaga, his main role is just to purely continuously buff your team with his second skill, right? That's going to be the main focus. Same with Nanami, we're just going to be using his second skill. That's the main focus. Keep in mind that you're going to be losing curse energy as you go, but you should be able to do this for at least 3 turns before you're unable to do any more. But that is completely fine. So even if you wanted to, the first turn you could just start off doing normal attacks and then buff after, but I don't think there should be any issues whatsoever in doing it this way. As you can see, Eso is going to be weak to green, so we're going to whittle him down a little bit with his Mekamaru's third skill, right? Because this will be hitting everybody, so that's not bad at all. As for Gojo, we're going to be using his third skill, which is his buff. This is going to help us get his ultimate gauge faster, which is what we're trying to get. Later on, we'll do 1 normal attack, so that way we can just, you know, do a little bit of damage to get them low. As you can see, he did an AoE debuff on us. Next up, we're going to buff again, and then we're going to use our second skill with Mekamaru on Eso, so that way we can lower him down just a little bit more. And then again with Gojo, we're going to buff. Once again, buff everybody. Mekamaru again, target Etso. Then what we're going to do here is we're going to buff once more. We're going to just keep buffing. That's literally all we're doing. Just trying to buff, so that way we can get ultimate gauge, because it gives them a lot. Then we'll do some normal attacks on Ketchizu just to lower him a little bit. And then again, we'll buff with Gojo. Now again, like I said, the first turn you don't need to buff with all these characters. You could do some normal attacks, so that way you can buff all in order, so that way you can continuously keep your stacks of all your buffs all at once, so you can do even more damage. I just, you know, did it like that because I just felt like it, to be honest. But yeah, the first turn you can just do normal attacks with everybody and then do what I'm doing here until the duration of the fight. Right, so buff again, do another normal attack, and then a buff, right? From here on out, we should have all of our ultimates, and the bosses should die here, right? Right, so it doesn't matter if Nanami's dead here, because we don't need Nanami at this point. We've already got everything set up. We'll do some normal attacks to Eso, just to lower him a little bit. We'll debuff a little bit. We'll use Mekamaru's ult. and then we'll use Gojo's ult, and the stage should be complete from here on out.
なるほどね。
術式判定赤
That's basically how you do chapter 6 episode 10. Very straightforward. They do have a little bit of gimmicks, but nothing too crazy. And that's basically how you manage it. I've already given you the alternatives and what options you could use. As you can see, it's very doable with SR characters and rare characters, all that good stuff. And of course, I've gave you guys some alternatives to use to actually help you in completing it if you do not have selected characters. One thing I would like to note, though, if you do not have Yaga or Anonymity, which if you don't, that kind of sucks, but you can just try to opt in for a stall kind of comp where you can kind of heal your team. So like using characters like Ieri, or maybe using someone like Yuki, or even Inumaki, the rare version. That will provide some sustain and survivability for your team, so that way you can at least stall for your ultimates for your characters, right? That's the only other way around it. But yeah, other than that, I appreciate you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.